So, Victor, you're the founder of ScooterMap.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the app.
Yeah, so ScooterMap is an app that helps people charging electric scooters make more money. So you have contractors working for Bird, Lime, and Skip are the main players, and they're going out charging scooters. So we help them figure out when they should work, what scooters they should go after, and give them other tools to make more money each hour that they spend charging.
Very cool. What do you find are the biggest challenges of charging?
Yeah, I think the first thing is the initial hurdle of figuring out what to do and how to do it. There's not a lot of educational content there about, okay, do I have to have the charging port shipped to my house? Where do I charge the scooters? Is it going to cost me money with electricity? So there's a big barrier there of like, what does the job mean? And then after that, it's, okay, there are some easy scooters to pick up near your home, but then where do you go next? How do you plan your evening so that you're picking up as many scooters as you can and picking up scooters that are actually there? Often the GPS will be wrong, or the scooter will be stolen, or somebody else will get to it. So how do you pick up scooters without wasting time? So we have tools like a likelihood score where we predict if the scooter is going to be there. So you can say, hey, I don't want to go for scooters that ScooterMap doesn't think is going to be there. So you're not going to waste time going after those. And we're also about to release optimized routing. So that's, hey, I want to know if I have 30 minutes, where should I go to pick up most scooters and make the most money?
Oh, wow. That's very cool. So it kind of learns patterns of scooters and helps chargers with that information.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. So what can cities learn from ScooterMap from what you guys have done? The kind of data you guys have collected, or the educational material. What can ScooterMap teach cities to manage their fleets?
Yeah, I think that we're seeing it's very early in that process in the micromobility transition of people using personal and shared vehicles.
Yeah. Cities
need to let these companies figure out new models and innovate. A clear win is when cities build lightweight tools for these companies. So that's like as simple as painting on the ground a dock for scooters or bikes to be parked. That makes it a lot easier for the chargers to go pick that up. When you have a central location to pick that up.
Yeah. So on the infrastructure side.
Yeah, on the infrastructure side, doing the paint for parking spots is really big. And I think something that Uber and Lyft have been wanting is pull-out areas for rideshare. These could also be really useful for chargers. So if you have a lot of scooters in an area and you have a pull-out area, then somebody can pull out, pick up scooters, and then go on without blocking traffic. So I think there's some benefit that cities can build infrastructure for both ride-sharing and for micromobility.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. There's been a lot of talk about the unit economics. So per scooter, are these private companies making money? And it's not clear whether Bird, Lime, and others like the Chinese companies Mobike or Ofo.
Yeah, I do that too.
If they will be sustaining businesses. Where do you see that going? Do you see these guys like almost at profitability, or?
Yeah, I think so. The focus in the shared scooter market has been 100% on top line growth. That means getting more scooters on the street, getting more ridership. They haven't been thinking about the cost side. My advice to cities for right now is to take the free money while you can. VCs are pouring in tons of money into these companies, and if they are operating at a loss, that's to the benefit of the consumers. You need to make sure that the scooters aren't littering the sidewalks, aren't blocking paths for disabled people. In general, it's if a company wants to offer cheaper rides than they're making money on, the citizens are going to benefit.
Right.
In the long term, companies will focus more on the sustainability side. They have to. You can't run an unprofitable business forever.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of work to be done to make these companies profitable, and that's what I'm starting on.
What do you think? What can cities do to help innovation in micromobility, or in micromobility and biking, walking, transit in general?
We're seeing a lot of change now that hasn't been happening in the past. In cities where there was a lot of change when cars first came into play. People were on carriages, and there were sort of some bicycles around, and then cars took over, and then people had to move out of the street. The cities built a lot of infrastructure for cars. So we're now seeing another time where this is a point where transportation looks like it's going to change again. And you're seeing people on both sides of this with respect to scooters and micromobility. Some cities are taking the idea of, hey, let's tax the bikes and the scooter companies and use the VC money to pay for other things that we need. So cities are putting tax that a company has to pay to put out scooters.
Yeah, like a per unit kind of cost.
That's happening.
Yeah.
So you see the people seeing it from that side of like, oh, this is a new thing.
Yeah.
And then there's the other side where people are in the industry are often saying, hey, this is so much better than cars. It's less congestion. It's better for the environment. And they're saying, hey, cities should be subsidizing the scooters and bikes. And I think both camps are a little bit too extreme. What cities can focus on is building infrastructure so that companies, different types of transit can compete and the citizens can figure out what they like best, also while investing in the public transit system. I think public transit's great, but as we see, you're not going to get a subway built in LA anytime soon.
Right.
New York, the city that's really iconic for subways, they just built the first new subway in a long, long time. And that was going on for 60, 70 years.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get public transit moving quickly enough as we need. So we have to let these cities compete. And that means the parking spots for bikes and scooters. That's a really cheap way of keeping things organized. And pullouts for Uber and Lyft and for chargers. That's another really cheap way of still allowing people to drive, but people to take shared vehicles and access the micromobility vehicles.
Yeah. So until these big infrastructure projects are funded or completed, we can kind of bridge the gap with micromobility.
Yeah, definitely. I think the other thing to look at is figuring out which car subsidies actually make sense. Do we want to have mandatory parking? Do we want to build all these parking spots that are free?
Right.
So how do we think about that balance? And I think that's an ongoing conversation.
So putting scooters and or micromobility in general and cars on a level playing field.
Yeah.
Where you have enormous infrastructure, parking, roads, highways for cars.
Yeah.
Micromobility is a brand new thing, so really put these things on a more of a level playing field so that there'll be a choice for consumers and really we can wean people off of gas guzzling vehicles.
Definitely.
That makes sense. Yeah. Last question. What is your kind of favorite or most creative way you've seen chargers pick up a bunch of bikes or scooters?
Yeah, I think we're in Santa Monica, so my favorite is still one of the first things that was invented here, where somebody took one scooter and then they placed another one on top of it, and then they placed another one on top of that, and then they got on top of all of them and kicked down the street.
Right.
A rack of a few different scooters. The awesome thing there is that no car was involved at any point, so all these people rode scooters during the day, and then the charger just walks out, picks up one scooter, hopes that one has a little battery, puts on the others, and then scooters
like a scooter Jenga right there.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. That makes sense. Okay, all right. Thank you so much for this. This was really fun. Yeah.